If you're selling AI voice or AI chat, obviously you need to get pipeline from somewhere. You need to get sales from somewhere. You can obviously do cold calling, you can do Facebook ads, you can do Google ads, YouTube ads. There's a lot of different ways. But one thing that we haven't typically touched on a lot is selling from stage. So today I'm super excited to be talking to Jon Blacksmith, who recently had the opportunity to talk to, what was it, over 500 insurance agents from stage, and he's got really good results from that. I'm very excited to dive into this. Jon, do you mind just kind of explaining a little bit who you are, giving us a little bit of backstory, and then let's dive into some of the offer and how you're able to get the gig and all that type of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So thanks for having me. First of all, I've been watching your content for a while, and you have great stuff, especially with Assistable. So I got into AI kind of more or less through my buddy or my best friend, who's an insurance agent, and he basically didn't know how to generate leads for himself. He didn't know where to get leads from, so he knew that I was into marketing a bit. So we met up and started generating leads, and we started with Facebook, and we figured that Facebook's the easiest way to generate leads, and so I started generating leads for him, and we were getting leads for like sub $3, which is insane. And then he started to realize, oh, I hate doing phone sales. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. So he kind of went on his own path, and what I did was I just said, well, I have this newfound skill set of generating leads from Facebook. Why don't I just maybe work with other insurance agents? So I went to Facebook groups and started blasting out kind of the results that I have, and then like my inbox just like got flooded with people looking for leads. Like anybody who's in the insurance industry or real estate, even accountants, pretty much any service-based industry, they're just desperate for leads because leads are the lifeblood of their business. And so then what happened was, a lot of these people are getting leads from us, or I was generating leads for them, like in their own, high-level type of account. And then I just saw a lot of churn happening. People were just not sticking around. So then what I did was essentially started building out these more complex text message workflows, and then it started booking appointments, and that's when I started having more people come to me, because that's what people really want at the end of the day. They don't want leads. Most businesses say leads suck, and I agree with them to an extent, but really it's what you do with those leads. And if you have the systems in place, the AI texting, AI callers that are booking appointments for you, now you don't have to worry about doing cold calls all day, burning yourself out. You're just focused on doing sales because you're just getting appointments all day.
Right, that's very well said. That's very common knowledge by now, right? It's like, hey, people want the actual appointments. They want the actual if you can get them as close as sales as possible. That's the idea as an agency, right? So it sounds like you did that really well. And so would you say that most of your authority building in the insurance space has been through Facebook outreach?
It's word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
I actually haven't advertised. I haven't done any of that stuff. It's just word of mouth, and people just keep coming to me. So, my churn is lower than the amount of agents that I'm bringing on, which is great. But because of Assistable and tools like that, I'm starting to make that transition to doing more voice AI stuff. Just because, first of all, it's hot. And as soon as you demo it to somebody, they just open up their wallet and they say, please, now, I need this. Because this is the difference between trying to hire someone for the Philippines or paying someone $20 or $30 an hour to make phone calls from you versus 20 cents a minute. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, 100%. So now I'm very curious. First of all, let's dive into the offer a little bit. But I'm very curious how you got the gig, the speaking gig. But so the offer, let's talk about what you were gonna present at the event. Was it a done for you offer that obviously you're doing some ads, it sounds like, but you're also now integrating more of the AI services. So what was the package that you were aiming to sell?
It's actually interesting because I went in knowing that I didn't. The first thing I said to them is, I'm not here to sell you anything. First of all, that puts their guards down because they're realizing, okay, maybe this guy's just here to provide value. And that was the case. I was explaining that I'm working with an insurance agency, or one of the agents that I help generate leads for. He basically used my leads to scale his business to $40,000 a month just from him, just selling over the phone life insurance. And he was doing it consistently, and that got a lot of attention for him. And so him and I are partnering on actually launching an agency for him that will have voice AI on the front end, where it's making the phone calls for them. And then on the back end, he has a pool of agents that are waiting for phone calls, like warm transfers, to come in from the voice AI. So I just went on stage and said, hey, listen, this is what we're building right now. That we want to build this into $1 million per month agency, and this is how we're going to do it. And I just showed, Emily, which is one of the main bots in Assistable, and just people were floored. I was there, maybe I presented 20 minutes, but the rest of the time I was just getting questions after questions after questions. And people are saying, hey, how can I sign up? What's the cost? What's the cost? I'm like, I'm not selling anything today, guys, but you know what? Join my wait list if you'd like. And then my wait list just blew up. I have, over 100 people who signed up, and 50 of those had booked appointments. And my whole last 2 weeks was less about sales calls, trying to figure out who I want to work with, essentially. So
Yeah. Okay, so you kind of went in with the idea of presenting it and, kind of starting the, conversations happening, right? So
yes,
figuring out who exactly you're going to be serving and then presenting an offer. So,
Yep.
so that's actually quite a neat way of coming in, especially when starting out. You don't have to have all of that figured out just yet, and it actually
Right.
gives you a bit of flexibility as to, okay, I see more of these types of people coming in. I'll be able to serve them initially, maybe later expand a bit if necessary. I love that.
Exactly. And that, at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to go for, is especially when you have, I'm lucky because I have that experience, and I have, with insurance agents, but, maybe you're presenting to a real estate house, for example, or it could be, again, accountants or doctors or whatever the case may be. To go in with a presentation and say, this is what we offer, take it or leave it, it's not fair to anybody involved, because you really want to, at the end of the day, say, this is what we have, this is what we can do. And then ideas start popping up in their head, and maybe they make suggestions, and that's how you can build a system for them.
Right, and that's going to be more customized to the actual client you want to serve rather than
Right.
pre-building everything. Yeah, 100%. So now, as far as getting that gig, how did that come about?
Well,
And what
my
what kind
best
of the
friend.
steps leading up to that?
Sure. Yeah, my best friend is because he's an insurance agent, he has to be part of an insurance agency, essentially, and he was recruited to this agency. They're basically the fastest growing life insurance agency in North America, and so he knew one of the or he knows one of the executives, and he kind of said, just in a passing by kind of thing, is just, that I use AI to generate leads. And then, like, he just obviously wanted to book an appointment, come speak with me, and then he just realized, okay, we need this in our whole agency, or all 8,000 people need to see this kind of thing. So, and that's where that turned into that presentation. So it's more or less like, at the end of the day, I could be running ads. I would be running ads if I didn't have this, and I would just be showing AI working in a sense. But at the end of the day, I think it boils down to having good connections with people that. Especially in an industry that needs a lot of leads.
Yeah. Yeah, networking is certainly very, very powerful. I've had other guests on previously have also talked about the power of networking. And obviously networking is not just, this goes to show, it's not just a one-on-one conversation all the time, or even in a BNI setting where it's like a networking setting. It can go beyond that, where you have a big group of 500 or even more people at times, right? So,
For sure.
so that's super exciting, super awesome to hear. Now, in preparation for selling on stage there, so what you did was a live demo with AI,
Yes.
and so obviously with the mics, everything, you were able to make that work. It
Yeah.
didn't freak you out that just this time some glitch is going to happen, OpenAI is going to go down. So
Exactly. I had a backup just in case I was going to use High Level's inbound bot just in case as a backup, but Assistable's pretty reliable right now for the most part, so it's nice to have that. And I made sure I just turned the sensitivity all the way down so they can only hear me, basically, because as like sometimes if someone sneezes, the bot stops, and you just kind of have to wait until it figures itself out again.
that was one of the thoughts I had. It's like, when selling, say, at an expo, if you even if you have a booth in the expo and you want to demo it, present it, that'd be hard to do, right? Because of the sensitivity.
Yes.
So it's a good little note on that.
Another way you could do it too. What's nice about Assistable is like with the live transcription, like on the screen as you speak and demo. Like that's really cool to see as itself too. But you could just record your screen and just have that demo playing in the background, for example, and then just say, hey, scan this QR code and come talk to the orb, for example, or call this number. There's a million different ways you can present it. It doesn't have to be live either.
Yeah, very true, very true. Yeah, I went to this BNI event, and I created a bot for that, but then I realized, okay, those 45 seconds I'd have to present probably didn't allow for that time to actually have it live. But that it's such a unique use case at this point, doing AI voice, that people's minds just open up and they're like, what? This can do that? It can
Yep.
do that? You kidding me? Like, and their brain, you can sometimes just see their eyes wide, and it's like,
Well, they think it's still Siri back in 19 or 2000 or whatever it was when Siri sounded like a robot, and then they hear Emily's voice, for example, and they just get floored. Like, is that pre-recorded? It's like, no, that's a real bot talking. So
but
it's
it's
really
not
really
even
cool.
just that. It's also the understanding and the smartness of the AI,
Yes.
right? Because it can make decisions. It can do all these different things. Like you could have it send an email via voice. Like you just tell, hey, could you send me the details on the summary of this conversation, whatever, right? You can have it set up to do that.
I think
There's
the
just
most realistic thing for them is just like you just show them that it can book an appointment, and that just like it just immediately is like a game changer for them.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I like to do, and this is just even for myself when testing, when setting up new accounts and testing them, the fun thing is testing the AI voice booking, and you just see it pop up
Yep.
in the CRM. It's like,
Yep.
oh, it's just so awesome, right? Because
It's
you
so
just
cool.
speak to it and it does it. Okay, so if we were to go on to a little bit, how did you manage the follow up later? So obviously you had them join a wait list. Now, how have you gone about bringing that into sales? Maybe you're still kind of in the process of kind of figuring it out what your offer is going to be, but
I yeah, the offer is pretty straightforward. Like right now, my goal is to do more or less custom work until I can systemize it. I have most of the system pieces in places because I really don't want to be spending a lot of time on sales calls all day. I'd really rather have like a funnel where I'm kind of driving traffic from, once I kind of tap out my warm market, I'll drive traffic from ads to like potentially a mini group, for example, to kind of show people, give them more content on how this works, and then they just raise their hand and say, yes, I want this, and then it becomes they just kind of sell themselves, and we have a bit of an onboarding process. But until that happens, I need to meet up with my prospects or my clients at this point, once every week to kind of put these pieces in place, get the proper feedback, record the whole onboarding process, and then make that available to my onboarding team. But yeah, in terms of like following up after the sales, I mean, honestly, I dropped the ball. And if this was any other industry or anything else, I would have, obviously lost my shirt. But because people are so desperate for leads and people are just so amazed by the AI voice capabilities, it's like, I could blow people off for weeks or months at a time, and they would still come back to me knowing that I have the solution in place. So that's not a great mindset to be in, in 6 months from now. But right now, it's just because it's so hot. It's just like I just have to kind of pick and choose my battles right now.
yeah, yeah, that's really good to hear though. And like this is a great way of starting out in the agency space, like with this new tool, right? To
For sure.
bring it into the market and then figure it out. So I'm super excited to see how this is going to come about, where it's going to go all together. Are you seeing the trend to be a bit more in done for you services or standalone software? Like, hey, you plug this in and you're good to go.
I think it's more like a system as a service. So basically, it's like you're going to build them a system, like a funnel, or like kind of, it's almost like a product in a sense. You give it to them, and then they pay a small monthly fee to keep it maintained, or it could be based on their usage, for example, of the bot. But usually, we would do a minimum setup fee between 1,500 to 2,500. And if it's like a larger agency that has a lot of agents that want to have leads distributed to them and bots calling out, for example, it's upwards of $10,000. And the reason why is because this is like you have to have like lead distributions more of an art than a science. You got to make sure that, for example, one person who's like a top salesperson, for example, is getting the majority of leads versus someone who's just starting out, and you don't want to send them a whole bunch of leads because maybe they'll drop the ball. So there's a lot of things you have to kind of factor in there. So when you're dealing with larger agencies, it's more custom work versus maybe individual agents. You could just literally just hand them a system and say, here you go, now enjoy, because now you're getting lots of appointments booked on your calendar.
Yep. Yep. Super. That's awesome. That's really good. And if you think about kind of the audience that we're talking to here, is there anything else that you think, okay, this is something that is important that I should share?
I would say just get started. Like honestly, at the end of the day, the more you show, just demo the bot, the more people will get interested and the more clients will get. It's just one-to-one right now. It's like every time for me I show someone it, they're like, it's not just, even if it's somebody who's not in business, they're like, oh hey, I know somebody that needs this right now. And then it just becomes, referral city. So just build a demo bot and just start showing it to people. Even if it's like, even if you're buying ads and showing the bot on Facebook, to me, it's not the most effective way to do it, but it's still better than not doing anything. It's just like right now, we're in the AI gold rush right now, and you just have to take advantage of it now until however long it takes before everybody's on board. But it could be a long time before that too. It's just, just don't wait for the tools to be perfect or whatever. Just get started now is what I'm saying. Because the tools will always get better and better over time. And as you grow with the tools, you get smarter and smarter. And then it just becomes, you just become a strong force in the market.
Yeah. And I think one thing to add from that you mentioned in this call is start with that minimum viable product where you don't have everything figured out necessarily before you go out to talk to people about it, to share it, because you can start generating interest and then build accordingly. And I think Jon Blacksmith here has a very good method of doing that, where he goes out, finds what the people are interested in, and then from there fine tunes his own systems before building out, spending 3 months building a big old system with a full onboarding, which might or might not be the right thing for the industry he's in, right? So instead of that, he's kind of building it as he's integrating it. So fantastic work, Jon. Great to hear. And honestly, I'd be very interested in catching up in a couple of months, seeing where this is all at, right?
Yeah,
so,
I would love to, especially as I start automating and start systemizing this. To me, that's my goal, because I think once I get to the point of not having to worry about being on every sales call, because it just sells itself, especially, because you can have that sales orb on your website and they can answer all those questions for you. So sometimes they want to speak to a real person, that's fine. But a lot of times it's just, I want to get to the point where they're already pre-sold and they're just getting on the call to like maybe ask or answer some last minute questions, or just to give me a credit card basically.
Yeah, absolutely. That's solid. I really appreciate you jumping on this call here. And yeah, thanks so much, and then hopefully we can catch up here in a couple months. And,
Sounds good. We'll do. Yeah.
Where we're at. Yeah.
I'll keep you posted for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Jon.
Thanks, Jason.